Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 1 of Spend Less, Scrap More Season 3. First of all, I'm going to say yes, I jumped on the bandwagon and I bought one of these large circle memory keepers or creative memories cutters. Have to tell you, my first impression was that really sucked. It did not even go halfway through, but being as it's the first time I've ever used it, I figure I'll have to play with it a little bit more. Luckily, it kind of left the somewhat of an impression of a cut, so I can cut around it, and it wasn't too wonky, but I'm going to be honest, I think I either wasn't pushing hard enough or it was my mat underneath. I know the mat that goes underneath can be super important when it comes to cutting with those cutters. Anyways, I am following a sketch by Scrapbook Generation and something a little different. So I really actually enjoyed the circle part of this. I don't use circles much, and part of the reason I bought that cutter, first of all, they re-released it at Creative Memories. So if you've been looking for one of those, they have recently remade it because I wasn't going to spend the price that a lot of people out there were asking as well. So I went ahead, and since they had new ones, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it because I have my Cricut here, and I always think if I want a circle, I'll just cut it with my Cricut. Well, let's be honest, I never do, right? So having this, I'm hoping to kind of do more of the circle or use more circles. Then the sketch called for a couple other, at first I was a little leery about cutting this circle, and because I wanted to use more of that fish paper around the page, and it's actually going to work out because I didn't want the fish paper to just be on one section of the page, which I actually looked at this sketch for a while and kind of went back and forth. I want to say, and I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say it was one of the sketch bundles by Scrapbook Generation, where from their We Create 2018, where you could buy it afterwards. But I'm not exactly sure. I know one of the sketches I used for this was that one, but other than that, that's all I know. And I am going to ink all my edges with my black ink, just so you know. The other thing I'm going to do, I believe, is I'm going to swap this sketch. So, I'm going to put what she has for the left-hand page onto the right page and vice versa. So, and it works out really good. I'm really happy with this layout. And it's because of the direction that my son is facing in the photos. So here's where the circle is going to go down. And pictures that are going to go, the main pictures on this are the ones where they're looking to the left, is why I switched it. I love this fish paper. I don't know. It's kind of weird how crazy I am about this fish paper, but I just trimmed off a little bit of the edge and I'm going to put it on there. But when I put it next to it, I kind of was, I don't know, I didn't like it next to this 4x4 square with the fish paper where I have the, I want to say it's a 2x2 photo. And I thought it just didn't look the best there next to it. There was like no distinction between the two. So I decided to go ahead and change that fish part right there to be this green pattern paper. I was trying not to cut too much of the green pattern paper up, knowing I had originally bought that green pattern paper to use for the ladybug and bug side, but so to save paper as well, I'm also, you can see I turned this photo around and just used the same green, even though there's it got a little torn and some paper showing, or like the patterns, mini patterns, but it looks good. So, and putting that circle down there, you can see it makes a huge difference rather than having that fish pattern paper right next to it. So she has stitching on her layout. Allison Davis has a lot of stitching on a lot of her layouts, but I like to do the faux stitching. So I took my white Signo pen, and I can link that below. Those are fairly common pens though. Any kind of white gel pen or pen would work. And I went around that fish circle, and that really made a big difference to my opinion. So here's the photo that you can see where he's looking to the left-hand side. So basically in his class, they got to raise some trout, and it's kind of part of the science part of the school. Or at least in his class, the teacher is pretty cool that it's kind of the teacher started it a few years ago. And luckily, I think I might have mentioned this, but we got to release these right before everything closed. So I was so happy that we got to go. And this was a great field trip. I'm going to scrapbook. One of the layouts is going to be more photos from this trip. So also when I was putting these photos down, I thought that one 2x2 on the 4x4 like square, I didn't like it. It felt like here's this tiny photo on this giant square, and if you had more of those around the page, that might be okay, but it was like the only one like that. So I decided to add that 2x2 picture next in with the cluster of the photos over there, and then I cut this one down, I want to say to 3x3, mounted it, and then put it on that 4x4 square, and that worked out so much better. And then having it with the white border, and then I had that 2x2 with kind of the white border that I switched from the green side to the other side. I decided I was going to try to add another border to one of the pictures for the left-hand page so that it would kind of stand out a little bit. And this is a picture of his class all together. Well, at least most of the kids. I wanted this to be like one of the main photos as well so that he could look back and remember the kids in his class. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these, and I start to do it on the wrong side again here. Luckily, again, I caught myself. That's the second time recently that I've started to do that. But, you know, when you're looking at the sketch on the page, you just kind of automatically go with the sketch on the page. So I'm glad that I caught that. So you can see once everything's down, that one picture is going to have a white border around it, which will bring some attention to it. And then I had this 3x4 piece to go in this spot, and it had the fish pattern on the other side. But when I went to glue it, I really actually liked that 3x4 journaling card. So you could see the good thing about ATG is if you get to it quick enough, you can just kind of roll it off with your fingers. And so that is going to be my journaling area. Totally unplanned, but I was really kind of excited that I found that because it's a great, perfect blue. It couldn't have been cut better to go there. So that was a happy little accident, as a famous painter we know might say, right? So, but then I added the 3x4 fish one, 3x4 fish one, still over there. So the fish paper will span both pages, and I was very happy. So look at it together. I love it, and it just gets better. So that's basically the main layout. Now I kind of go off of the sketch like usual at this point. I think I pretty much have the same photos, same whatever, but she has circles all over on her sketch. Like they're crazy circles on the entire left-hand side, which would have been her right-hand side, all over next to the circle itself. And I just didn't want to use up too much of my pattern paper to make a bunch of circles, and I didn't want to go super crazy. So I'm going to make some circles. I have all my punches. I actually grabbed a bunch of circle punches, and you can kind of see a couple of them at the top. And I played around with them and different sizes. She lists, I believe, the sizes and everything. So if you really wanted to follow her sketch right on, then you could, but I didn't. The only thing I was a little disappointed about, and I'm going to mention this, so Shimelle's collection, she needs a little bit more change of direction. Like all her bird stickers, it seemed like were facing the same way, and all the fish were facing the opposite way. And I like to have things facing into the layouts. So that part's going to make me struggle just a hair. One of the things is going to be the fish stickers. All 3 fish stickers are facing the same way. I'm still going to use them, but I was kind of disappointed when I saw that, especially since she's so big on designs and things like that. So, so you can see here, I'm just kind of adding different circles around. I tried to punch the circles. I wanted some of the fish to, again, bring that fish pattern paper around. I wanted some of the green, since I had some of the green on there already. And then there was a couple of the other side of the fish pattern paper where this light blue one here, it just has the lines on it from the journaling. And at first I was worried about how that would look, but then I decided I didn't care. It's just like a pattern paper. So I went ahead and glued it down, and I really like how it kind of adds that blue color in there. Here I was looking for maybe something else I could use. And then I remembered the branding strips. So I actually used some of the branding strips with this collection, and that, you know, is just an added plus. Now with these fish circle stickers, those are the ones I punched the biggest. I did try to find a fish that was, you know, looking around, or I punched out a fish circle. I didn't do like the random, just anything. So each one of these has a little fish peeking out. And since I had the white border around the faux stitched border around the large circle, I decided I would go ahead and add that same border around all the fish circles. And I think it really helps again with the whole design aspect. The other thing I'm going to do with these fish circles is I'm going to pop these circles up with foam tape, just to kind of help again bring in the whole fish theme, because yeah, I wanted to bring it in. And here I think might be where I discover that there's no fish facing the opposite direction. They're all four. There's four of them there. They're all facing to the right hand side. And I wish that, whatever, nothing I can do about it, right? So I am going to tuck this fish here. I don't know the names of fish, but I'm going to tuck him kind of by the title, and he actually looks okay, even though he's kind of facing off of the layout. He actually looks okay because he's tucked in among all these bubbles. So, and I am going to pop up all the fish on some foam tape. Sorry, I had to adjust my chair, but at least my chair's not squeaky. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I have got a new chair and I love it. So there was also that sticker that said Great Big World, and I kind of thought that went well with this layout because we're releasing these fish that went from this tank they grew up in into this, you know, giant lake. So, and it fit really perfectly underneath. And my title, not very fun. It's just trout release. You know, I thought of trying to think of something else, but honestly, it's fine with me. And then on this side, though, I also really liked this sticker. I was excited. Not only do the colors match this page pretty perfectly, it says Into the Wild, and I felt that that went along with the theme of the page just as well. So I went ahead and put that there as kind of like this is kind of like my other cluster area. So I've mentioned a little bit about clusters, and this is probably a really good example layout where not everything in your clusters has to be touching. So I've heard that from a lot of different people, and it drives me crazy because not everything has to be touching in your layout. So don't feel, if it helps you to have everything touching and you like it that way, then definitely do it. But you can see here, some of them are touching and some of them are not. And it's still, I really like how it turns out. So I'm going to kind of throw in here and there little clustering tips since my kids are home and it's kind of harder to do the cluster series that I wanted to do. But so I'm still going to do that. Don't worry, even though it's been like a year since I mentioned it the first time. Anyways, I'll get back off that. Here is two more of the fish. These are perfect because they're facing in, so they're facing right to the pictures. And so I'm going to put two of those. Again, they're going to be up on some foam tape. One thing I will have you notice that there's 4 fish stickers, and I was going to use them all. So I use all 4, even though that's an even number. But they're in 3 different areas, so it kind of evens itself out. Now, the biggest problem right here is this fish is reddish, or I don't know what you really call, so maybe a salmon color. So that causes a tiny bit of a problem for me because it's the only thing on the layout that is that color. So I am going to fix that here, and I will show you in a few minutes. And I'm not 100% blown away, like, I don't know. I fix it and I bring the color around the page. Let's just leave it at that. So I'm just looking for another fish to punch out so I can do a little tiny cluster up here right at the corner of the filled notes. So it can be like my third little cluster area, but I wanted something in the corner of that journaling spot just to help bring it again around the page. I felt like it needed something there, and I had one more fish to use. So I knew that I wanted him to go there. So again, I'm popping that fish up with some foam tape, and I'm just trimming down pieces. So I didn't cover the entire parts of the fish, but just enough to hold most of him up. So I pop that up, but before I glue him down, I decide where I want those circle sticker, or not stickers, but the circles that I punched, because I wanted to still bring the circles around up to that area. And I had cut a green one, but I couldn't get the green one to work too well because that fish was green and I didn't really want it right next to that same green. So what I did was I found, again, part of the fish backing of the fish paper. One of the journaling tags was a little bit lighter green. You can see the difference in the greens there. And that worked up there. So that is basically that cluster. I looked on for my puffy stickers, and I'm not going to use any on this layout. Again, I was a tiny bit disappointed there was no fish on for the puffy stickers, but that's okay. I think if I would have added too many fish, it probably would have went a little bit too overboard anyway. So I'm happy with what I did. And now I'm looking at the sticker sheet and just seeing, I definitely want to try to use up a lot of these word stickers as well, and just the whole sticker sheet itself. So I add a word sticker around the page. Here is the red one. I decided this was the same color as that other fish, but I wasn't sure where to add it. So I added above the photo, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not crazy about that, but it's the only place that I could put it and it stays there. That's what it is. So now I have to figure out, I wanted to add a red, something kind of that reddish color into this third cluster. So I actually, pretty good idea. This banner, I knew I wouldn't use this banner. I knew that it would be one thing that I really struggled with, and it had that red banner that was the same color. So I just took my tiny punch and punched a circle, and it's just going to be a tiny little red circle up there. But now you can see that red is in 3 different locations. I probably could have just kept the red fish and it would have been just fine, but I don't know. I did what I did, and it's there, and I love the layout anyway. So I also decided to add some of the faux stitching around this 3x4 section of pattern paper, since it's the same fish, and everywhere else on the layout, anytime you see that fish paper, it's outlined. So yeah, I went for it, and I'm glad that I did. I feel like it really helped bring everything around. Now, I was going to put my title here, or not the title, the date. It's February 27, 2020. But only February 27, 20 would fit. And to me, putting just 20, like, I don't know. It's because anything could come after the 20, if that makes any sense to anybody. So I really kind of struggled. So I wanted to put it here. I thought this would be another great location for it. And at first I was going to put 2020 underneath. But then I decided I'm just going to use these letters to put February 27th. And then above it, I took my gel pen, and it actually didn't turn out very well, but I wrote 2020 above it, and that's good enough. And I did also do my journaling with the white pen just to go with the rest of the page. So here is a couple close-up photos. Also, I found some of those enamel circles you see. Those were so old, but you could use Nuvo drops just as easily, but I sprinkled those all over, and it just finished the page perfectly. And I used those up, so I was super happy about that. Hope you guys like the layout, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.